Hey everybody, welcome back to Cedar Creek Homestead. This is Josie, and today I'm going to show you guys how to make a really quick buttermilk biscuit. And Blade is working hard getting some of the projects done, him and Grandpa, and so he has requested fried potatoes and some other goodies, and I'm going to make this biscuit go along with that with gravy and sliced tomatoes, of course, and I'll show you how this recipe comes together and how quick and easy it is. And we're going to use an iron skillet today, cast iron skillet, to put the biscuits in. And I'll turn the camera around and I'll show you with just a few ingredients, 3 ingredients, how we can make these biscuits. I have my cast iron skillet off to the side here, and I've got my bowl, and I hope my bowl is not going to keep you guys. Let me see if I can move that. So today we're going to start out with 2 cups of self-rising flour. Just makes things easier. Now you can use all-purpose flour if you don't have self-rising, and you have to add salt and baking powder to that and make your own self-rising flour. That's a simple process too, but today I'm just going to show you with self-rising flour. So that's 2 cups of self-rising flour. To that I'm going to add butter, and this is 1/3 of a cup of butter, and it's cold butter, not frozen but cold, and I've got it cut up in these little chunks, and I'm just going to put it over in here into the flour, and I'm going to use a fork to incorporate it. Start with clean hands because you're probably going to get your hands in there or be tempted to in the very least. And so this is what it looks like, and you're just simply going to start. You can use a pastry cutter, and I do have one, but I'm just going to use a fork. I'm not going to use a mixer or anything like this. We're just going to mix these biscuits. They come together really good, and I'm just trying to show you how easy it is to add a bread to your meal. And to me, bread, biscuits, cornbread, fried cornbread. Now, fried cornbread has many names. I grew up with it being called fried cornbread. Really just looks like a cornbread pancake is what it looks like to me, but we had that growing up, and I hardly ever remember a meal that we didn't have bread of some kind on our table. And I know a lot of people are doing the keto diet and low carb diets and other stuff, and they have shunned bread, but it is a budget stretcher to add bread and relishes and stuff to your meal table, so that you can stretch how far your proteins and your other items that you're serving last, and how many more. You'll be surprised how many more people that you can feed simply by having these kind of things on the table. Because people eat a biscuit and they're still hungry. They can get a biscuit and put a little butter and honey or molasses or homemade jelly or whatever you have there, or they can sop up the gravy or sop up the goodies that's left on their plate, and you'll be surprised they'll eat that biscuit or that piece of bread and be satisfied. So I grew up, I don't think my granny ever set a table and sat down to eat that she didn't have bread on the table, because Grandpa expected to have bread, got used to having bread. Okay, I'm going to actually use my hand. You're looking for crumble. Now you can see I still have big pieces of butter, and so I'm just going to begin to work it with my hand. It doesn't bother me a bit to do that. And you know, you can kind of get a feel for it. You're wanting to make sure that that butter is good and small. Now This biscuit would be delicious using lard, but I don't have access to lard right now. We still haven't added any little piggies to our homestead, our farm, but that's in the plans for the future. And I don't want to talk bad about businesses, and I'm not, but the lard that you buy at the store, you know, it has so many things that's added to it. It's not really pure lard. And so until I have my own, I'll just use butter. You could use Crisco, but it's the same, you know, it has things added. And I do use Crisco for my pie crust because I don't have the lard, and so I use Crisco. And you just have to pick your battles, guys. Sometimes you don't have access to those kind of things that, you know, that our parents and grandparents had, and if you don't, then you have to find another means. But you see how it's coming together? It's beginning to get like little bitty particles in it. It's not flour, like powdery flour anymore. It's got the little particles, but I can with my hand I can feel that I still have some bigger pieces, and so I want to work that in. Now, it's not that if you don't get it all 100% mixed, it's not going to make your biscuit taste bad. It's butter. How can it make your biscuit taste bad? But anyway, that's what we're looking for. Getting that all incorporated. Don't add any of your liquid until you've got this step done, because once the liquid's in there, you don't want to do any kind of work, extra work, because you have a tough biscuit, and you don't want a tough biscuit. You want a nice, tender, high-rising biscuit. Okay, I'm pretty satisfied with that. This is what it looks like. And so we're ready now to add our buttermilk. So that was 2 cups of self-rising flour, 1/3 of a cup of butter, and now I'm going to use 3/4 of a cup of buttermilk, and I'm going to pour it right in there. Now I also have some extra flour off to the side because we're going to use that in just a minute. I've got my stove preheated to 425 now. On that, you'll use, all of our stoves are different. Some stoves run hot, some stoves run a little cooler, and so if you have to, you may have to run yours a little bit hotter than mine, or you may have to use yours, turn yours down a little bit. But I'm going to start with 425 for mine. You're going to bake them for about 15 minutes, but you'll be able to judge it and tell if they're nice and starting to brown on the top and that they're ready. You could possibly have to go a few more minutes. I've had to go about 18 minutes before. Okay, so this is what it looks like. And I'm going to put a little bit of butter, not butter. I put a piece of parchment paper down just to make it easier for me to work with this and for cleanup. And I'm going to put that out on my parchment paper. Okay, the dough is starting to come together, and I'm going to dump this out on this floured surface. Now you don't want too much flour. And you don't want to overwork your dough, or you're going to get tough biscuits. And we don't want that. Move some of this flour out of the way. You could get a rolling pin out and roll it out if you wanted to. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to eyeball it. And today I'm going to use a glass about this diameter to cut my biscuits out. Now when I push down, I don't twist. I just push them down and I go around. I don't twist because I was taught that if you twist them, you kind of seal them around the edges and they won't rise as well. And so I'm going to get these cut out. And I'll bring my iron skillet. Maybe I'll move you guys back a little bit so you can kind of see that. Well, okay. So we're going to get those biscuits in the skillet. And we'll get this done again, so I ain't gonna waste it. Now this is where the second time you may not roll, you know, your thickness may not be quite the same because you're rolling them out again, sort of, patting them out anyways. And I'm gonna, Howie had fond memories of his granny's biscuit making. And she was a good biscuit maker, and he liked her biscuits. And she just kept a big Tupperware bowl in her under her sink or in her cabinet somewhere, and she just each day added, you know, what she needed, and she pulled down some flour and she made a pan full of biscuits, and she had a certain way she did it. Now this little biscuit is just going to be hand made like this, and I don't care if he's perfect. He's just a little cheater biscuit if you get hungry before supper's ready, or dinner, whatever you're having. Okay, so I got the biscuits in here, and you'll notice that they're not touching. They're close to each other, but they're not touching. And that'll give them opportunity to rise and to get fluffy like we want them to. And we ought to have us a good pan of biscuits. And I'm going to put these in the oven. They'll bake for 15 minutes. We'll check and see how they're doing. They may have to go a few minutes longer. They may be ready to come out earlier than 15 minutes. But I'll begin checking them about 12-13 minutes, and we'll go from there. Here they are right out of the oven. It took about 18 minutes for them to bake and to get brown like we like them. They're good and brown on the bottom. And once I took them out of the oven, I brushed them with butter, and we'll get a taste. We'll cut this open, and it's nice. You can see the steam. It's nice and hot. They just came out. And I'm going to put a little butter on there. There is our good old fresh buttermilk biscuit, ready to enjoy. That'll be perfect with gravy and fresh sliced tomatoes. I'm looking forward to dinner, and I gotta go get my other chores done so I can get in here and fix dinner for my hungry workers. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this biscuit recipe. I hope you'll give it a shot. Super easy, super simple, pretty cheap and economical, and we're looking well to the ways of our household. Until next time, this is Josie with Cedar Creek. I love you. I really do. We're gone.